Stop for a moment. Close your eyes and think about the most defining image of your life. Not the best photograph you've ever taken, but the single image that holds the most weight. The one you revisit in your memory. It is perhaps a simple frame, but the detail, the light, the emotion, they are perfect. Now, what if the tool in your hand was not just a device to capture light, but a machine engineered to realize that perfection? For decades, we've been told that photography is about compromise between size and power, between speed and resolution, between legacy and the future. But what if that compromise is now obsolete? This is not a review. This is an investigation into the most pivotal moment in Nikon's history. This is the truth about the Nikon Z system, the silent, relentless revolution that is changing the face of modern image making. You may think you know this system. You may think you've seen the specs. But the real story is woven into the very fabric of the camera, the metal, the glass, and the silicon, and it demands your attention. Because this is the new standard. And if you're serious about light, you need to understand it completely. The Nikon Z is not just a camera, it is a declaration. A line drawn in the sand of the mirrorless age. The unprecedented gateway, the Z mount. To understand the Z system, we must not start with the megapixel count or the frame rate. We must start with the void, the absence of the mirror, and the unprecedented portal that Nikon engineered to replace it, the Z mount. Every design choice, every technological leap, is rooted in the gargantuan diameter of this mount. At 55 millimeters wide, it is the largest full-frame mirrorless mount in the world. This is not a number for marketing. It is a fundamental law of optics. It is a massive, gaping maw, the ultimate gateway to light, and paired with a vanishingly short flange distance of just 16 millimeters, the physics of light transmission have been fundamentally altered. What does this translate to in your hands? It means the optical engineers, those quiet masters working behind laboratory doors, have been unshackled. They are no longer confined by the narrow tunnels of the past. For the first time, they can design lenses that are not just good, but optically perfect. Think of the Noct lens. It is a technical impossibility made real. An f/0.95 lens that is tack-sharp corner to corner, wide open. This is not magic. This is the pure, unadulterated science of the Z mount's generous geometry. When you look through a Z lens, you are seeing a cleaner, brighter, and more faithfully rendered slice of the world than has ever been possible before. The Z mount is the future-proofing of your craft. It's the promise that every lens released in the next decade will be pushing the boundaries of what is optically achievable. Do not look at the cameras today. Look at the mount. It is the engine that will pull the entire train of the next generation of photography. The sentinel of detail, sensor, and image quality. Now, let's turn our attention to what lies beyond the mount. The sensor. This is where light is tamed, measured, and transformed into data. And in the flagship Z cameras, what we have is a sensor that operates not just in parallel, but in defiance of every prior expectation. We're talking about a sensor so advanced that it is less a chip and more a geological layer of information. The dynamic range is not just wide, it is colossal. When you pull a file into your editing software, you're not wrestling with noise or banding. You're simply retrieving information that was always there, patiently waiting for you in the shadows and the highlights. Picture a difficult high-contrast scene, a backlit portrait at sunset. In older cameras, you sacrifice the detail in the dark, cavernous shadows, or you blow out the delicate texture of the sun-drenched sky. With the Z system, you get both. You pull the shadows and they emerge, clean and vibrant, like a secret whispered in the dark. You roll back the highlights and the texture of the clouds. The gradation of the orange and purple snaps back into existence. This is not mere technical proficiency. This is creative freedom. And the color science. Nikon's color has always possessed a certain truth, a realism that separates it from the stylized output of competitors. With the Z system, that heritage is elevated. The colors are rich, but not saturated. They are accurate, but with a depth, ND subtlety that makes the final image breathe. When you photograph skin tones, they possess a lifelike texture and warmth. When you capture a landscape, the greens and blues possess a visceral quality. The resulting image doesn't just look like the scene, it feels like the scene. This is the difference between a picture and a definitive visual record. The perfect extension, ergonomics, and the haptics of creation. A camera must disappear in your hands. It must become an unconscious extension of your eye, your will, and your creative impulse. If you're constantly thinking about the tool, you're not thinking about the image. And this is where the Nikon Z design achieves a masterstroke of human engineering. The grip, it is deep, it is sculpted, it is a comforting presence that gives you absolute confidence, even with the heaviest telephoto lens attached. This is Nikon refusing to bow to the fad of tiny, compromised mirrorless bodies. They recognize that a tool of this power demands a certain heft, a certain commitment to balance and control. It doesn't perch in your hand, it anchors itself. The haptics, the feel of the controls are definitive. The satisfying, positive click of the command dials. The perfectly weighted throw of the aperture ring on the S-line lenses. The position of the joystick. Every single tactile element has been placed not by committee, but by photographers. You can feel the intention. You can feel the heritage. Even in the most high-pressure, fast-moving environments, a wedding reception, a wildlife burst, a decisive moment in street photography, you operate this camera by muscle memory, not by sight. You adjust the ISO, change the focus point, and dial in exposure compensation without ever taking your eye from the massive, bright, and fluid electronic viewfinder. The Z system doesn't ask you to adapt to it. It adapts to you. It is customizable to a degree that makes it uniquely personal. When you hold it, you're not holding a camera. You are holding your camera. This intimacy with the machine is what unlocks true, uninhibited creativity. The speed of intention, autofocus, and the exp engine. For years, the mirrorless conversation was haunted by a single word, autofocus. The speed, the reliability, the ability to lock onto a subject and never, ever let go. The early days were a struggle. The technology was nascent. But the Z generation, particularly the latest flagship models, have annihilated that conversation entirely. The autofocus system is not merely fast, it is prescient. It is an intelligent tracking mechanism driven by a profound understanding of what a subject is and where it is going. Powered by the blistering speed of the X processor, the camera can analyze the scene, identify the subject, be it a bird, a dog, a car, or a human eye, and lock on with an instantaneous magnetic certainty. The speed is staggering. The burst rates are beyond what is required for any real-world scenario. But this over-engineering serves a purpose. It gives the professional photographer the ultimate security blanket, the knowledge that the machine will never, ever be the limiting factor. You, the human, are the only variable. Consider the complexity of high-speed video capture. The Z system handles internal raw video at resolutions and frame rates that would overheat and choke lesser machines. This is not an afterthought. It is a fully integrated component of the imaging pipeline. The camera is not just a stills powerhouse that shoots video. It is a true hybrid machine built for the modern creator who needs uncompromising quality, whether the output is a 45-megapixel still or an 8K cinematic sequence. The speed is the liberation. It allows you to move away from the technical checklist and step fully into the creative moment. You don't think about whether the focus is going to land. You only think about the light, the composition, and the story. The road ahead, the ecosystem, and the ultimate vision. In the end, a great camera is defined not just by what it is today, but by the ecosystem it promises tomorrow. And this is where the Nikon Z story becomes truly compelling. The glass. The S-line lenses. They are the core of this revolution. Each one is a masterpiece of modern optics, delivering resolution and sharpness that simply outstrip the capabilities of older designs. The holy trinity of fast zooms, the 14 to 24, the 24 to 70, and the 70 to 200, are all lighter, sharper, and more refined than their PR. Predecessors. But the real magic is in the commitment to new, groundbreaking primes. The f/1.8 collection, the 20mm, 35mm, 50mm, 85mm, are delivering performance on par with former f/1.4 lenses, but in a lighter, more affordable package. This makes the highest quality imaging accessible to more artists. And this commitment extends far beyond the lenses themselves. It's in the firmware updates that redefine the camera months after purchase. It's in the subtle improvements to the IAF, the video codecs, and the overall usability. Nikon is not releasing a product and moving on. They are building a continually evolving platform for creative expression. The Nikon Z system is a commitment to the long game. It is Nikon stating unequivocally that they are not only back in a race, but that they are building the track for the entire industry. They're focusing on the things that actually matter: optical perfection, robust build quality, and an image file that is rich enough to survive any post-production manipulation. The conclusion: legacy forged in light. The music swells, becomes more reflective and triumphant. So, we come back to that image. That perfect, definitive image that exists in your mind's eye. The Nikon Z is the first camera system in history that seems to fully grasp the weight of that perfect image. It recognizes that in a world drowning in digital noise, true quality is the only lifeboat. It is a camera that is heavy with expectation, but light in execution. It is powerful, yet elegant. It is a technical marvel, but one designed with the soul of a craftsman. If you have been waiting for the moment to commit to the future of photography, to put down the compromises and pick up a tool that will truly get out of your way, then the wait is over. The Z system is not the start of the mirrorless era. It is the definitive, no-compromise end of the digital revolution's first chapter. It is the new benchmark. It is the new frontier. It is the realization of optical excellence. That was a powerful opening act. To truly hold an audience for 30 minutes, we need to inject more detailed, almost controversial technical analysis and contrast it with the competition, keeping the tone authoritative and passionate. The next part of the script will delve into the unspoken advantages, the engineering philosophy, and the battleground of the modern camera world. Here is the continuation of your highly engaging 30-minute faceless video script in English, following the previous conclusion. The physics of edge-to-edge perfection, sound of subtle, complex electronic humming, emphasizing the technical depth. Narrator: we talked about the Z mount, that magnificent, wide-open throat, but we must dive deeper into its true consequence. The advantage of a Z system is not just that it allows new lenses. It is that it corrects the fundamental, historical flaws inherited by every other system that simply adapted an old lens mount to a new mirrorless body. The problem, historically, was the angle of incidence. Think of light rays striking the sensor. With a traditional lens mount and its long flange distance, the rays of light hitting the center of the sensor arrived perfectly perpendicular. But the rays hitting the edges of the sensor arrived at a steep angle. This created two deadly optical sins: vignetting and corner softness. You were forced to stop down the aperture to f/8 or f/11 just to achieve tolerable corner performance. The Nikon Z mount's extreme dimensions, the 55mm diameter and the 16mm flange distance, solve this entirely. The wide diameter allows the engineers to place large, correcting glass elements much closer to the sensor, nearly eliminating the steep angle of incidence. This is the physics of edge-to-edge perfection. It means that when you shoot a Z system lens wide open at f/1.8 or even f/1.2, you are not simply getting a shallow depth of field. You are getting uncompromising sharpness from the absolute center of the frame to the furthest, most demanding corner. The image quality is uniform, a cohesive sheet of detail. This allows the landscape photographer to shoot at f/4 and get the sharpness of an old f/16, or the portrait photographer to shoot wide open and still have the subject's eyelashes tack sharp, regardless of where they are positioned in the composition. This isn't just an advantage. It's a revolutionary change in how we can conceive of composition and aperture. It is the final nail in the coffin of historical optical compromise. The code of color, Nikon's unspoken heritage. Every camera system has its own language for color. Some are loud and aggressive. Some are muted and cinematic. Nikon's language is often described by a single, profound word: truth. The color science in the Z system is a quiet genius, a direct descendant of Nikon's film heritage, but supercharged by the X processor. The difference lies in the subtleties of the tonality, particularly in the way the camera handles the transition from pure color to shadow. Where some systems rush to create saturation, Nikon preserves the micro-nuances of light and air. Look closely at a Z file, particularly in the midtones. You will see an almost three-dimensional quality to the greens, the blues, and the skin tones. The camera isn't adding color. It is recording the light with such fidelity that the color naturally appears rich. But the real magic is in the low light. The high ISO performance is not just about reducing noise. Anyone can smear detail with aggressive noise reduction. The Z system maintains color integrity at extreme ISOs. The shadows remain black or dark blue, rather than turning into a polluted field of magenta or green noise. This is vital because the human eye is far more sensitive to color contamination than a simple luminance grain. This truth in color science is the reason the Nikon file is often described as feeling real or filmic. It saves you hours in post-production. It means that the output of the camera is not a starting point that requires heavy grading. It is often the final destination. You spend less time correcting the machine and more time mastering the art. The silent killer, shutter technology, and the stacking revolution. The modern flagship Z cameras have done something truly audacious. They have effectively rendered the mechanical shutter obsolete. This is not hyperbole. This is engineering fact. The introduction of the stacked sensor combined with the raw power of the X processor has created a digital shutter mechanism that is not only silent, but faster, cleaner, and more reliable than any mechanical device could ever be. Think about the mechanical shutter. It is a physical curtain. It moves. It creates vibration. It wears out. And most damningly, it creates the dreaded rolling shutter effect when shooting fast action with the electronic shutter. The Z system's advanced sensors and processors execute a sensor readout speed so blistering fast that the rolling shutter effect is virtually eliminated, a problem that plagues nearly every other camera at this level. This means you can shoot at 20 frames per second, 30 frames per second, or even 120 frames per second completely silently and capture a perfect, undistorted frame of a spinning propeller, a swinging golf club, or a fast-moving car. The ability to shoot in absolute silence with zero vibration is more than just a convenience. It is a profound professional tool. It is the difference between capturing a decisive moment in a theater, a wedding ceremony, or a fragile wildlife encounter and ruining it with a loud, clunky clack sound. The Z system has replaced the oldest, clunkiest part of the camera, the mechanical shutter, with pure digital speed. This is a game changer that every serious filmmaker and high-speed photographer must reckon with. The ecosystem advantage, adaptability, and the FDZ adapter. The story of a Nikon Z is also the story of respect for history. While the Z mount is a radical leap forward, Nikon ensured that the millions of F-mount lenses created over the last 60 years would not become digital paperweights. The FDZ adapter is not just a tube of metal. It is a bridge of seamless communication. It allows virtually any modern F-mount lens to attach to the Z body, retaining full metering and, for the vast majority of lenses, full autofocus functionality. But here is the truly incredible part. When you use a non-VR vibration reduction F-mount lens on a Z body, that lens gains image stabilization from the Z system's phenomenal 5-axis in-body vibration reduction, IBIS. This means your vintage beloved prime lenses are suddenly stabilized, becoming sharper at lower shutter speeds than they ever were on a DSLR. You are not just adapting a lens, you're upgrading its core functionality. This is the long-term, financial, and creative benefit of the Z ecosystem. It is a system that allows you to step into the future without abandoning your past. It offers the world-class sharpness of a new S-line glass, while still allowing you to employ the unique character, the signature look of your favorite F-mount lenses for specific projects. No other major system offers this level of respectful, seamless backward compatibility with an added layer of technological enhancement. The Nikon Z system is not demanding that you buy everything new. It is inviting you to blend the best of your past work with the absolute pinnacle of future technology. The final proposition, an uncompromising tool. Music swells slightly. The pace slows, becoming more philosophical. The Z system is the culmination of a century of Nikon's optical obsession. It is built on the philosophy that the tool should never dictate the art. It should only empower it. We have examined the physics of the mount, the truth of the color science, the liberating speed of the stacked sensor, and the respectful bridge to the past. The combined effect of these technologies is a camera that simply delivers a more perfect, more honest, and more detailed image file than was previously achievable. It is a demanding camera because it asks you to stop blaming the gear. It asks you to look inward and commit to your own craft. It gives you the full, uncompromised power to capture that single, definitive image that we spoke of at the beginning.